This is Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
What's stuck in your sinuses?
If you blow your nose, that'll...
Excuse me. I'm getting a word here, okay? No, wait a second. Actually, it is my sinuses. Scratch that. This is Wretched Radio. My prediction, take it or probably better to leave it, because it is about as sound as anybody else's futuristic understanding what the world might look like in a week or in a year. For whatever this is worth, I suspect that what I hold in my never-before nicotine-stained fingers is a sign of the times and a trend. You better get ready for it, Christian, because I do believe it's a-coming. This is not a political discourse per se. We tend to not do those here. But when issues involve the safety of human beings, the protection of lives, we care. Whatever the realm is, doesn't make any difference. It's political, it's social, it's Wall Street. If lives are at stake, the human that's been informed by the Bible says, well, I care about that. And I think that this is something that we should be caring about and aware of, because this is a trend that I believe is growing. I also believe that this is a trend that is quite intentional, that this is something that has been worked on, and I hold in my never-before nicotine-stained fingers the fruit of those labors. This is a post from a young evangelical. This young man goes to, I think it would be safe to define it as a neo-reformed church, where social justice, remember, social justice, not biblical justice, social justice is making its way into the neo-reformed circles, courtesy of movements like the Gospel Coalition, even Together for the Gospel. This is the fruit of that. Get ready. This fruit is multiplying. This young man, why are Christians late to the party of denouncing racism and eliminating the commemoration of historically terrible people? Stop. Why are Christians late to the party of denouncing racism? Well, I don't think that there's any Bible-believing Christians who promote racism and don't denounce it. I'm not exactly sure what the standard is or how much would be satisfactory to this young man. But I don't know of any Bible-based Christian who overlooks the sin of racism. It is a wicked sin. It is a murderous sin. It is a sin of the heart. It is a sin of hatred. It is a sin of pride. It is a sin of blasphemy. It tells God, well, you did a better job with some of us than others. Frankly, you did a good job with me and my skin color, but not that person's skin color. It's blasphemous. And I don't know of any Bible-based church that doesn't denounce racism. Nevertheless, why are Christians late to the party of denouncing racism and eliminating the commemoration of historically terrible people? I just sat in my living room watching one of the worst leaders this country has ever seen, our president, pontificate inaccurate political talking points to an echo chamber of claps and pseudo-worshippers. People are dying in the streets, a virus is ravaging our world, and millions of people are wondering if they're going to be able to find work over the next several months. None of that matters to our president. We're just going to leave all of that aside because that's not my point. Instead, he will talk to his base and say whatever they want to hear in order to maintain his authoritarian grip over our country. Now, please note, if you're thinking that this young person is a cuckoo liberal, went to an ELCA Lutheran church, Bible-based church, a neo-reformed church, he continues. A majority of evangelicals still continue to support this selfish bigot and have no issue justifying it to themselves. Not only do they support him, they call it righteous. I hate to tell you, but you're losing people like me. I will never call myself an evangelical again. This is a reminder that the conflation of evangelical Christianity and politics, it is strong. It really is undeniable. right, wrong, or indifferent, you say evangelical, and a lot of the world thinks Republican. This kid, I think, is expressing that. I cannot associate with people that stay silent in the face of evil. I've watched 50 and 60-year-old men that I look up to fail to call evil evil. I don't know who those men are. Is it possible that, considering the current climate, they're perhaps practicing some prudence and trying to figure some things out before they speak? Well, not according to this young man. Political tribalism is the new religion. Well, it certainly seems that way based on this post on Facebook. It doesn't matter who's on the Republican ticket. If he can wield the great weapons of being pro-life, he has the evangelical support. I will not condone this. There it is, right there. That's the guts of it, right there. This is something that has been afoot for many years now. And the idea is that the life issue is not the premier litmus test issue when it comes to voting. There are other issues, and we cannot overlook those issues and just vote for a pro-life guy, especially when he is perceived to be as terrible as this current guy. And if you don't think that this kid has company, look out. This is being taught, I would suggest to you, to millions of evangelical kids that vote. Now, is this a presentation on voting in the fall? Now, this is an issue. This is a conversation about the priorities of evangelicals regarding the issue of life, regarding the issue of abortion. The argument that is laid forth by social justice people is this: that abortion, yes, it's bad. That is acknowledged. But there are equally bad things, or perhaps some issues that affect even more people, and because, for two reasons, the Republican Party has not done a good job of making any headway on the issue of life. It's still codified on the books with our current Supreme Court justices. See how they're voting? With the Gorsuch and the Roberts, see how they're voting? You're never going to get the thing overturned. Therefore, you can vote for somebody who's a pro-abort because there's other issues to be considered. And this young man, he personifies what I fear is a growing trend. Want to hear the rest of it? I'm going to read it to you anyway. If the candidate can wield the great weapons of being, quote, pro-life, then he has evangelical support. I will not condone this. This man cares about nothing but himself. He is morally incapable to lead his country. If you consider yourself evangelical, Christian, or religious and continue to support this man, I would genuinely like to know if you're actually listening to the cries of the people in the streets. What happened to empathy in caring for the least of these? That sentiment is growing. Now, here's the challenge in this. Is there anything that is happening in the streets where people aren't being cared for? Sure, of course there is. And if it's unjust treatment, not socioeconomic statuses, because those exist in every culture, unless, of course, you're Marxist. Nevertheless, there's going to be those levels. If it is being done in an unjust way, then we, of course, we care. Of course, we care. But this movement says if you don't care about that more than the life issue, well, pretty close to being called not Christian. This fellow doesn't think that evangelicals should act like that, and he wants to separate himself from that. If that sentiment is indicative of a million kids, maybe their parents too. It's going to be interesting come November, now isn't it? But there is a question that demands some attention. Is it true that evangelicals don't care about the least of these? Well, I think the least of these would be babies that get killed, murdered in their mother's wombs. That would be the least of these. We hear those cries the loudest. Millions of babies since I can't even remember the number. And is it 60 million babies since Roe v. 60 million? Are you kidding me? But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be caring about other issues. We can and we do. How we go about doing that is a challenge. Do we learn anything from this young man? I think so. I think it's important more than ever because the world has their attention. If we are not addressing these issues with them in youth group and in our homes and giving them biblical support for the priorities of Christians when it comes to whether it's political issues, economic issues, social issues, the world seems to be gaining their attention more and more. The implications, huge. This is Wretched Radio.
Hello, Maria. This is Todd Friel from your auto insurance company, noticing you're not taking advantage of any of our life insurance policies. Really? Oh, really? You're not afraid to die? That's funny. Listen to this clip from Paul Washer.
I'm talking about you.
So what do you think of that, Maria? Maria?